you. What week is it again?
3.
7.
We're on. Yeah. Hello, gents. Oh, I've added the hat this week. What do you think?
You're going a bit accessory crazy, aren't you?
Looks like I could be down high row.
Well,
the Bills must have won a game.
There was a guy down Skidegate today who looked like you who was asking me for some change so he could buy a coffee.
You could buy some new sunglasses.
Yeah.
How are we both doing?
Really good, really good.
Obviously, you both know that I've gone to 2-0 in our league that matters.
And that's took, 30 seconds to slip that in the podcast, that's it? When you go 2-1 next week and 2-2, we'll time how long it takes to mention it.
Yeah.
I won my matchup and ended up going down 2 spots, so I don't know how that works.
Well, I had a bit of a disaster in our league, as you all well know, with some advice given by myself to pick up any Broncos D, Broncos tight end, and it obviously went absolute disaster, along with other bad selection choices. So, yeah, I think my very low credibility has just dipped another notch. But if we can sweep it to the carpet, that's perfect.
Put it behind you, move on.
Obviously,
there's always another week.
Obviously, my Puka pickup paid off. And your Williams
Wow.
pickup paid off, didn't it?
Yeah, but I put him on a bench.
Of course, yeah.
We benched him in the FF Office League as well.
Yeah.
We'll come to the FFOP League. Yeah, you know, we performed quite well. Third.
I think what Barry was saying before his internet is in his face.
It's in his face. He's just stuck on that. I think is it.
Take a snapshot of that. Fucking.
I think his internet must be funny in that room, you know.
Oh man,
he's gone.
I think what he was saying before he abruptly left us was that you're on the wrong league there, Rant. Was that we were the third highest scoring team last week and still managed to lose, so we've now got to 1-2.
Brilliant.
Yep. He's just texted to say his internet's dropped out, if we didn't.
You reckon?
Know. You reckon? Yeah, as if we didn't know.
Yeah, so we're in our very own league. We're supposed to be the experts in. We're third bottom.
Excellent. The only way is up, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Barry.
I'm back, mate. I'm just breaking the internet at my end, so I'm back. Yeah, it was a good time to be missing, considering how badly we're doing, aren't we, for the people giving advice and 3-on-1 scenarios we keep getting beat.
Yeah, not ideal. Are you on dial-up at your end, Barry, are you?
Something like that, yeah. Is it working now? Are we still running?
Seems to be running.
So long as you don't move, talk, you should be all right.
What we're going to do, an impressionists podcast.
Yeah. I just see Brandon Ayuk's confirmed as being out tonight.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I didn't think he would play.
That was one of them ones where even if he was going to be playing, you probably wouldn't want to start him, would you?
No, the 10-point favourites at home or something. It's not going to be particularly competitive. They're not going to need him. McCaffrey, they're going to they're going to really cut back on McCaffrey's workload tonight as well.
Yeah, bit of a Elijah Mitchell game.
Yeah, like obviously McCaffrey will start, and once the 49ers go by a couple of scores, they'll start pulling plays, and McCaffrey will be one of them. So Elijah Mitchell, so long as the game goes as it's expected to go, Elijah Mitchell will get a lot of garbage time tonight.
It's always helpful if you've got a player who's carrying injury, just to get that out, definitive out, move on, pick somebody else up, change your team around, rather than that going into a game with injury and not knowing, and then getting a couple of snaps and you think, oh, I've just absolutely shot myself in the foot.
I had it last year with T. Higgins, where he had the hamstring injury going into the game, and they says, "Oh no, he's going to play," and then literally stood on the sideline with his helmet in his hand for the whole for the whole game. Man. Just like, fuck's sake, like, just tell, you have no desire to use him, just declare him as being out, But anyway, no, it's good when you get these things confirmed prior to games starting. There's going to be a few more this week as well that we'll get to.
I was going to say that was my point. It feels like there's a heavy dose of injury reports this week, and in-game injuries last week, a bit of injuries in training. So it feels like a week where obviously we're doing a pod on a Thursday, but you've got to really follow this all the way through till Saturday, Sunday before the game.
Yeah. And then, as we found out last week, about 5 minutes before the early game started, he ended up getting the news through that Cam Akers was going to be out for the Rams in the later game in the afternoon. But that news broke literally about 5 minutes before kickoff in the earlier games.
But that wasn't injury rate; that was just a healthy scratch, wasn't it?
He was a healthy.
We don't want you anymore.
Yeah, and we've got rid of him. Bonus.
And I think again we touched upon it in the pod last week, and I did say that he had this spell last year where they did the same sort of thing, tried to bin him off, but then didn't find anybody else and sort of had to bring him back, and he had a little bit of a renaissance at the end of the season. But I did have that question mark to say, given any opportunity, they'll get shot at this guy.
Yeah, I think when you look back at it now, I think when they give him just all the work towards the back end of the season, they were just trying to showcase him for a trade at that point.
Mm-hmm. Where was he getting drafted? In redraft league, where were we going? 9th, 10th round?
No, 5th, 6th.
Wowzers. So there's a few people burnt fingers there, isn't there?
So, as per every week, if I get a question in, I'm going to interrupt you both straight away.
Absolutely.
So first question of the night from Neil Martin. Jerome Ford or Kendre Miller this week? Do you want me to start it off?
You start it off. Yes, you go. You're the man that know.
I'll go Kendre Miller. The main reason, the matchup. I don't like Ford's matchup against the Titans.
Yeah, very tough run defense, aren't they, Titans?
Yeah. I just love Kendre Miller as well. I think he's got all it. Go on.
Who's he up against this week?
Packers.
Who like Bandy will tell us, but the shit run defense basically. What are the 30 for some Bandy or something?
The one of these new defenses that basically their teams to run them, so they invite the run because they realise that that passing the ball is a lot more efficient than running the ball. So rather than let you pass, they'll just prefer you to run. And then with that, you end up with holding penalties, etc., that get you off the field quicker. So they're one of these defenses that prefer you to run on them.
I think again from what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks with Packers, they seem to be very slow playing. So again, we've spoken week one about that volume of plays and opportunity to score points. Packers seem to want to have slow games with not very many plays in it. So again, encouraging the opposition to run, taking that time the clock plays in that narrative a bit.
Yeah.
The
only thing with Ford is people have gone out and spent some fab, well, most of them anyway. And then you're kind of thinking when you've been out and spent some fab, you're like, you kind of you think, oh, I'm going to have to play him. Do you know what I mean?
You feel obliged, don't you?
I know you didn't last week with Williams, but I often do. But I just don't like that. I just don't like that matchup.
He's still a good pickup forward, isn't he? You know, he's still going to be in a good run-heavy team and getting heavy touches. I think just this week might not be the best week to play him if you've got.
Who would you play, Blandy?
Probably Kendra. Probably. Just that the matchup is off-putting for Ford against the Titans. We saw last week Kelly bombed out.
Yeah,
purely because the Chargers went into one. It was a close game that ended up with the Chargers having to throw more to catch up towards the end or to try and win the game. But also they went in and they knew that the way you beat the Titans is you throw deep on them. And for all the Browns passing game has been a shit show so far this year, that should still be their mentality going into the game.
And there's a risk with Kendra Miller, though, isn't there? Because this is his debut one this week. He hasn't had any snaps today.
No, he's been out with a hamstring injury up until this point.
So he's still a rookie. Some good college tape. Looks a good prospect. Yeah. He's got a little bit less competition in the backfield this week than he's ever going to have with Williams out and Kamara on suspension. But there's still there is a little bit of a danger there, isn't there, with a rookie on his debut?
Yeah, if you've got Kendra Miller, this is probably not the only week you can play him. But if you can't play him this week, when can you? Because you've got
Well, when Kamara comes back, Kamara's going to be the 1A of the committee, but I fully expect Kendra to be the 1B of the committee because Jamal Williams is just garbage. He's just
injured, and he's injured for an unspecified amount of time, which is never a good sign, I think.
Yeah. But even if he wasn't, it wouldn't take long for Kendra to surpass him because I mean, you've seen what Williams has done the first couple of weeks; he just stinks. Huh?
Yeah. So to answer your question, Neil, Kendra Miller for us, I think. But while we're still on about Kendra Miller, in some leagues he's still available on waivers.
In a lot of leagues. In a lot of leagues, I've got down. He's only 33% rostered on sleeper in redraft leagues.
Right.
So if he is available on waivers, well, it might now even be free agency. Then he's definitely someone that you want to be picking up.
Yeah.
And at this point in the cycle, if he's available, press the button and pick him up.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So onto our league that I don't really want to look at. So we got beat by
Maverick.
Smith. Yeah, Maverick. 150 to 128.
Third highest score of the week for us. I mean, I mentioned that before, but it's hard one to take that, isn't it? Third highest score and losing.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Now, if I could figure out how to do it, I'd give Paul up a clap, but I can't seem to find it. I can't seem to find that stat. Where he's like almost maxed his available points out.
Yeah. You have to go up to the report on the notes on the league chat on the right hand side.
This one.
Up. Yeah. Scroll up.
Save it before we hit the top of and save it for us.
There you go. It's in there somewhere. You see it better on the app than what you do on the desktop.
Yeah. There he is, highest scorer.
Yeah.
Biggest blowout. There it is there. Best manager. Set a lineup that was 99% of their perfect possible lineup.
Oh, well, there's room for improvement.
So I get the soundboard.
Come back when you get 100%.
Second question of the night, Baby Santa. James Cook and Godwin for Waddle, 0.5.
PPR. Thanks for the question, Baby Santa. Who's taking it?
I like Baby Santa's profile picture there. Beautiful.
I hope he's hit the subscribe button for us as well. We always appreciate that.
What's the
tricky one? This one
is on Waddle's injury, Baz.
Yeah, I think he's not trending particularly well, is he, for this week? I mean, obviously longer term he's a top player, but I think he hasn't been spotted at practice this week. Is the latest, so that's not a good sign for this week. However, James Cook and Godwin, obviously both inferior caliber players to him. Will they need Waddle against the Broncos? Possibly not. So they might just ease off him anyway. But I think longer term, I'd be looking for that deal, given the way the Dolphins have started.
Yeah, it depends. I wouldn't trade away Waddle for those two, especially not in half PPR. Half PPR touchdowns are more important than, or more important in half PPR than they are in full PPR. And James Cook doesn't. So far hasn't got any of the goal line touches. It's been Harrison, Latavius Murray. So he's kind of capped from that side of things. Godwin, to me, again, he's a low radar player, relies more on receptions than his yardage. And he hasn't looked the same player since he came back from his injury. So I would side with Waddle in that particular trade.
Yeah, Waddle's the best end to be on. And I think, again, Evans is just a bit outplaying Godwin at the moment. Might flip round. Bit of a question mark over the QB play, although Baker's playing well, but longer term, we probably know Baker's not elite. So I think Waddle's definitely the best end to be on.
Yeah.
Another one from Baby Santa. Rank these three running backs: James Cook, Kyren Williams, James Conner.
Rest of season, I would take probably in that order, to be honest with you: Cook, Kyren, and James Conner. Cook, his role is there; it's solidified for the whole year, barring injury. Kyren, he played 78 snaps, I think it was, on Sunday. He pretty much played the whole game bar 3 snaps. Now, that is a ridiculous workload for a running back. Not per se the 90% snap share, but actually there's just the physical amount of snaps that he played. Normally you're looking at around about maybe 55, 60 snaps tops. He's in the 70s there. So then there's also the risk that the Rams will sign someone or call somebody up to start splitting his workload a little bit. And the James,
do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah.
Do you think the Rams will take another back in?
It's physically impossible.
Possible.
He only weighs about 195 pounds. Like, he's a small back.
He can't do that. He can't do that for 17 weeks, can he?
It's not sustainable.
Impossible.
No, physically not sustainable. And then James Conner, the Cardinals just stink. There's a chance that Conner also gets moved, but then also this last week it was quite disconcerting for him, where he's on a really bad team, so he kind of needs to be the running back who's getting all the snaps. And on third downs, they were taking him off the field for guys that I've not heard of before. So
he's generally performed quite well, Conner, but I think that rest of the season outlook is definitely of a downward trend and not maintaining some of the numbers he's posted fantasy-wise.
Well, just because of the team that he's on.
Exactly. But I have been very, very impressed with Kyren, and I think I would put him, out of those 3 that we had up before, I would put him ahead of James Cook, purely on a very small sample size, but I thought he looked very good. Very, very good.
Right.
He has. I'm not denying that he has.
Right. Baby Santa's fired a few things in here, so I'll try and summarize them to get answers. So his first concern. Let's stick on Kyron Williams for now. So would you say, from what you said, Blandy, that Kyron's a potential sell high candidate at the minute? Or do you
I would want to get running back one value in return for him.
Right. So this is the next question for him, maybe Santa.
Yeah.
If he could flip Kyron, Mike Williams for JT, is that sort of like a deal you'd look? Obviously, you got the risk of.
Yeah, like if you're confident that Jonathan Taylor is coming back, he's going to play from week 5 onwards when he's eligible to return, then I will probably do that deal. But I'm not confident that Jonathan Taylor's coming back in week 5. So for me, definitely see the upside of it. And if you have the conviction that Taylor is going to come back, then I would do it. But I don't have the conviction that he is.
I think my advice would be to just ride Kyron Williams, what he's called, Kyron. Just ride him. You know, you've picked him up either on waivers or very, very cheap. You're getting great numbers out of him. Just let the good times roll.
Yeah.
Let the good times roll. Another one from him as well. So obviously we said James Cook was like your number. Well, Blandy said James Cook was the number one. James Cook goal line work scares the shit out of him.
Yeah, and that's the point. The point I raised as well. But on the other hand, he is a really explosive back, and he's got no goal line work so far, and he's still the RB9 overall in scoring after 2 weeks with no goal line role.
I just have too many RBs. I have Saquon, Pollard, Kyron Williams, James Cook, and Connor.
You're pretty set there.
Good position to be in, isn't it?
To be honest, I'd try and trade away Connor. To be honest with you,
yeah.
Out of them, and I'd just roll like Pollard. Other than McCaffrey, Pollard has the best role so far through 2 weeks. Other than McCaffrey, like he's had something ridiculous like 12 carries inside the 5-yard line or something. He's only had 18 in his career. He's had 12 already, I think it is, in the first couple of games. So that, like, if Pollard's usage continues, he could easily challenge for the RB1 overall.
Absolutely, he's getting a lot of good field positions either with the defense putting him in a nice spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I think again, look at Baby Sanders. He is more running back heavy than he is wide receiver. So we would be looking to flip a running back for a decent receiver. And I guess, see what deals you can strike. Don't be getting rid of Pollard or Saquon. Again, I'd keep Kyron, and I'd look to try and flip one of the other two.
What wide receiver do you think you could be targeting with James Conner?
I don't think someone would go for it, but if you could get someone like Zay Flowers, I think that would be a smash, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think someone would go for it.
Would you swap a James Cook for Zay Flowers?
In his situation with a weak wide receiver, I would.
Possibly.
I'd maybe look see if you could do Connor for Tyler Lockett. Seems to be perennially undervalued and puts some good numbers, so that'd be a deal I would be looking to make.
Yeah, probably not a bad shot. Just looking. If you could handle the inconsistency, not from the player but from the quarterback, someone might do. Would they? I don't know. I'm thinking Garrett Wilson. Someone do Garrett Wilson for a James Conner.
I think you've just got to get active on there. Get your offers out there. See what people. Everyone's got a different opinion. Everyone's got a different appetite. Let's get it out there. Get a few offers out there and see what you can do. Cheers, Baby Center.
Yeah. Next question from Blurpy. Pick 2 PPR. Connor, Kelly, Schumann, no Eckler, and White. He knows Kelly wasn't good last week, but we touched on before, Titans' run defense was is lethal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, I'm happy. I'm going to play Kelly this week, and I'm happy to play him. I've got no qualms on it. I just think that matchup last week was, and then the way the game script went as well. I don't know if it's just making myself feel better.
I think looking at those three, the one that I just generally like the least is probably Rashad White. I know he had a good week too. He put some. We sort of scoffed a little bit at his numbers week one when he was about 1.9 yards a carry, but he bounced back last week with some good numbers. What are the Eagles, the Bucks this week? So again, probably likely to be playing from behind a fair amount. I'm not sure this is a good week for him this week.
Yeah, but the Cardinals are playing the Cowboys, so.
For Connor, yeah. You're in a bit.
I'd play Kelly and White personally.
Kelly and White.
I think Kelly's in a really good spot this week. That game's got what is the highest predicted points total. It could well be a shootout. The two teams that can't stop each other going up and down the field. He's definitely live to score a touchdown this week.
Yeah, he's a lock this week, I guess, isn't he, Kelly?
Yeah.
Good evening, Neil. Thank you for joining. Get your questions in the chat. We'll get them to the lads. Any trade queries that you might have.
So where are we going next on the agenda then, Anth? Are we finished with our review? Are we trying to sweep that our league under the carpet, towards the bottom?
We'll sweep that away.
Quick mention for anyone who's 2-0. Do you think? Quick one for. I think it's the 3 teams 2-0. Kevin Hamilton, Ryan does the gritty, and
Ryan does the gritty.
Callum Mahomes under the hammer.
Another strong player. So a bit of catching up for everybody else in that league to do. A bit of chasing down some good teams there.
We play Ryan. We play Ryan this week, so.
We can't go on 3, can we?
No, we can't.
We'll shut the league down. Shut the league down. Close the podcast.
I want Wonnie the end of it on the school run when he sees me. When he sees me and tells me he's 3-0 against us.
Next up is drops. So who are dropping? Who do we think is safe to drop?
Drop
for the week, or are we talking about players who want to move on?
Move on from
sells.
Just we've got.
Evening, Kev Wick.
Cheers, Kev. We've got 2 weeks worth of data now, and there's some players that we want to look to be adding, and there's other players that we can definitely be dropping. So the first one on my list there is Zeke Elliott, 65% rostered. So far in 2 games, he's played just over 30% of the snaps. The most telling thing he's done is fumbled the ball, basically. For the
I was going to say he's had a fumble, which doesn't go down with Belichick, does it?
No. And then you can see his playing time the week after actually did reduce. Zeke, he's been washed for a couple of years, but he looks even more washed now. You don't need to be holding on to Zeke. There's absolutely no upside there.
Are they paying him handsomely, or are they paying him bottom dollar?
No, I don't think he's getting paid any significant kind of money. I can't remember exactly.
Multi-pack of Space Raiders, I think.
Yeah,
like I said, it wouldn't last 10 seconds with him, would they? You'd have a bucket. You'd have a bucket of chicken down in a minute.
Yeah.
That lad.
So he's an easy drop for me. The second one on my list was Jerick McKinnon. He's 57% rostered when I last checked. Again, in the two games so far this season, 32% snaps, and he's only had 5 touches in total. The biggest reason for him, or the biggest problem that he's having this year, is that Isaiah Pacheco's route participations doubled from last year. So they're involving Pacheco more in the passing game, or he's out there running more routes in the passing game than what he was last year. And that's having a negative effect on McKinnon's playing time. So, and Pacheco is back at practice today. He missed yesterday.
I was going to say, was there a little bit of injury concern, but that's done and dusted now.
Yeah, he's back there. So I generally don't really pay much attention to Wednesday reports because people get the day off. Tough spot.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch Pacheco, he'll be definitely giving it one of these when he runs his arms, his limbs are going like 1 million miles an hour for a 2-yard gain.
Yeah, looks like the Tasmanian devil.
He puts the effort in.
Yeah. Rashard Penny, he was the last RB on the list. He's clear fourth on the depth chart. So there's no need to hold on to him. Kenny Gainwell's back at practice. They don't fancy him. The Penny don't fancy him at the Eagles for whatever reason. No, and like when he played there the last week there, it didn't seem to have the same burst as what he had in previous years. So
he had a broken leg last year, didn't he? So these things can take a toll on players, can't they?
Yeah.
They must have seen something pre-season because no one knew. I think there was rumours, wasn't there?
The thing that caught me again when trying to look through this Eagles backfield was the money. So the money they paid Penny, he was on less than £1 million, which again for an NFL player is close to the bottom that they could pay someone. Boston Scott was on $5 million. That kind of told me where they thought the rankings were a little bit.
Yeah, Boston Scott gets his money for special teams. He went out of the game last week before Penny came in with a concussion. I don't actually know. I haven't seen any practice reports for him to see if he's actually back at practice. But yeah, there's no need to keep hold of Penny.
Kev Wake, beauty that the pennies dropped.
Tell you what, he could get a job at the News of the World with them puns, couldn't he?
Very good, Kevin. Very good.
Wide receivers.
What about there was another question? I would say there's another quick question. Wasn't on Dalvin Cook there? Did we get that one in or?
Is Dalvin cooked?
Dalvin was cooked last year.
Would you, if you made the mistake of drafting him, would you be confident enough to drop him, or do you think you've got to give him a bit more opportunity to turn it around? Not that we fancy to turn it around, but do you think I've got to roll with him, given that Breece Hall's not firing all cylinders yet?
Yeah, I just don't see what the upside is, especially without Rodgers. It's hard to see what the upside there is with Cook. So,
okay.
If you wanted to drop him to pick up a wide receiver that you needed to plug into your lineup or something, then I'd have no plans.
Absolutely. And just another quick one to throw on before we move on, Anth. What about his old stablemate, Alexander Mattison? Not pulling up any trees, not living up to his hype of a draft point. He's going to get all the carries. He is just going to follow in Dalvin Cook's shoes.
Well, I don't think you can drop him. You can't drop him yet, anyway. But
he'd be someone I'd look to get it. I'd try and get away from though.
If you'd try and trade him, yeah.
Yeah. If he's still got some lasting value and somebody still wants to give him a chance, I'd look to rehome him.
And obviously, you've got the news that Akers is gone.
Yeah, I think he might have a window. If you wanted to move on for him, I think you might have a window after this weekend's game against the Chargers. Like I said, the game's projected to be high scoring. Akers is not going to come in there straight away and command any kind of workload because somehow they've managed to sign an even worse back than Alexander Mattison. But
so if he gets
it's not only that though, is it? Because the Vikings just want to throw it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Well, that's the thing that they do trust Mattison in the passing game. Akers will be an absolute stone zero in the passing game when he comes in eventually.
But I think a little bit of predicting the future. If Mattison can pull off a 60, 70, 80-yard game with a touchdown, you get his top score of the season. That's the point to try and get away from him, isn't it? And
if you wanted to move on for him, that'd be the time to do it. Yeah.
Wide receivers to drop?
Yeah, my favourite wide receiver that I always like shitting on is Doo Shit Pooper. He's what's he there? 67%. Doo shit pooper. In the last he's played 55% of the snaps in 2 games for a Patriots team that are struggling at wide receiver. You look at his what's he got there? 4.7 yards per target and 4.67 yards. But he's basically a tight end. He's basically a part-time tight end with a wide receiver designation. Absolutely no reason whatsoever to hold on to Juju.
There's a phrase that his knees ready to explode as well. Did that get rolled out at one point in pre-season?
Yeah, just I think it was last week or the week before. But everybody knows about Juju's knee for years now, so that's it's nothing. It's not new news, is it? You know,
no,
it's not new news.
But again, it's another reason to think not for me.
Yeah. Well, it was another reason not to draft him, wasn't it? So.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, Quinton.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Quinton Johnson, you wouldn't be trying to stick with him to see if he, as a rookie, might come back into the fold later in the season, or just try and pick him up again if
That's
he does?
a problem. I would I wouldn't want to drop, but if you needed to drop him to add someone who's going to offer you something immediately, he's played 20% of the snaps so far this year. He actually lost playing time this last game. And so far, he's gone 5 targets, 3 receptions for 16 yards. I mean, it hardly screams breakouts coming, does it? You know, at the minute, he hasn't been able to beat out Josh Palmer, and Josh Palmer's terrible.
But they've been absolutely hammering Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, haven't they? They've got huge target shares.
Yeah. So far, yeah.
Interruption. Question from Kyle Miller. Do I trade Drake London and Joshua Kelly, Yaz Eckler, for Christian Watson?
That's a good question. Thanks for your question, Kyle.
I don't think Watson's going to play this week. I think he's going to be out again. I think that the Packers like being overly cautious with their injured players. So I think it's going to be another week where he doesn't play. And then we're projecting with him for what we hope he can be. Obviously, he was very good as a rookie in a small sample, but there was also a little bit of Chase Claypool rookie season to his game as well. I like it. I like him as a prospect. Drafted him loads in best ball. Don't get me wrong. But with the hamstring, the slow start, I don't know, because I really like Drake London. I just hate his situation.
Christian Watson's got boom or bust written all over him, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's got those big 150 yards, 2 touchdown weeks, or 3 touchdown weeks last year, or a couple of drops, 3 catches for 15 yards.
As 2 talents, it's not even close. Like Drake London is an elite alpha wide receiver. He just happens to play for a archaic offense
with a questionable quarterback.
Yeah. That's a tough one. But I think I would stick with London and Kelly personally.
I get the sentiment there. I just feel on that deal, I would roll the dice and have a little bit of a pop at Christian Watson and think if he does, have more boom weeks, then he's gonna potentially win me some leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Casting for Anth.
Yeah, go on, Anth.
Yeah, I'll go Christian Watson just because like a little gamble.
Yeah, he's a risky. If you're a risk sort of taker, he's the player. He's the player to take, isn't he?
Fuck it, you only live once.
If we just want to extend that into a little bit of chat on the Packers, they've done quite well with Jordan Love, but they've been using some really ropey, low-valued running back receivers. When he does get fit, you assume he's going to take a good chunk of that target share, don't you, Blandy?
Yes, but like they used similar draft capital on Jayden Reed this year.
Okay.
So I don't think Jayden Reed's going anywhere. He's been very, very good so far this year. He's on a 25% target share on his limited routes, 38% target per route run. So when he's on the field, he's commanding targets, and he's not running all the routes. So he's got an opportunity for his role to grow. It wouldn't be the greatest shock in the world to me if at the end of the season Jayden Reed is the one who's leading the Packers in targets.
Any comment on Dontavian Wicks?
No. He's the one, obviously, who's going to get pressed out. But no, he's I think was he a fifth round rookie or something? I think, wasn't he?
Yeah. The other downside, like I said at the start of the Packers, is they don't run a lot of plays, do they? So there's maybe a little bit of is it Rodgers slowing the offense down, or is it LaFleur? And I think, again, LaFleur's maybe thought, well, with Love, I maybe have to be a bit cautious and back to that volume. The volume is not necessarily there for the receivers.
Yeah, I think they want to be they would like, if Aaron Jones can get fit, they would like to run the game through the running backs and then take the shots downfield with the receivers. But
and I know I'm just going to interrupt us with a question, but I'll slip this one in as well. I haven't been massively impressed with AJ Dillon.
He's been horrendous.
Oh, don't get me started on AJ Dillon.
A few of us might be in Birmingham in the past, but he's not living up to his frame or stature, is he?
No, he's been really poor so far this year.
This year? Fucking hell. This year? I can't believe they're still rolling him out.
I think it's on the last
year. Lad to roll out.
Last year of his rookie deal now, isn't it? So I don't think he'll be back.
Yeah, he must have had a little bit of a spark there, week 12 last year, and then dropped off a cliff again. First game he was all right, but horrendous. Tommy Turnbull, thanks for joining in again, Tommy. Do you pronounce the words offense, defense, and prevent like Americans? As in prevent, defense, or just normal British accent? Just normal British accent up north, working class lads. Thanks for the question, Tommy. Keep them coming.
I do like an American prevent.
Prevent.
Prevent defense.
On the Chargers, guess how many targets Williams had last week? Big Mike.
12.
13.
13
targets.
Yeah. Well, that's how you beat the Chargers, isn't it? You beat them deep. The Titans. Can't run on them, but you beat them deep.
Fling it.
Expect the same this week.
So we're dropping Quentin Johnson.
Reluctantly, yeah, but yeah, you need to see more. The thing is with these rookies as well, you need to be quick to move on as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last one, I believe.
Yeah, last one of the wide receivers. This one's pretty easy. I mean, didn't want to really roster him when Aaron Rodgers was his quarterback. Certainly don't want to roster him now when Zach Wilson is. So that's it.
He does just seem to pop up every now and again, but there's just no consistency, is there?
No, there's no upside. So yeah, he didn't need to be rostered in the first place. But
I was going to say you should never been there. You should never been there in the first place, should you?
Yeah, no. Rodgers is no longer there. Yeah, you can move on from him.
Onto the tight end.
Yeah, there was only one on my list, and Cole Kmet. His routes last week, they plummeted along with his playing time as they got Big Bob Tonyan involved more. And the Bears' offense is an absolute mess. So if you're not a full-time player, I mean, we found out with DJ Moore in our league. Even if you are a full-time player, it doesn't necessarily mean there's any upside there. So with Cole Kmet, you can quite easily move on from him. You can find better streamers on the waiver wire.
Yeah, tight ends that when you get to, if you haven't got that elite tight end, there's plenty in that sort of 10 to 20 range where they do it based on matchup and a little bit of sort of form the week before and just switch it around. You don't need to be sticking with Cole Kmet, do you?
Yeah, just stream them.
Mm-hmm.
I would just extend that a little bit of a conversation around the Bears to Justin Fields and say, if I was an owner of Justin Fields thinking, last year he was getting some great numbers on the back of it, some huge running plays, it's not working out this way so far in 2 weeks this season. And again, if I could get shot of him, I'd be touting him about.
I wouldn't. I'd be looking to buy personally.
Really?
Yeah, because but there's going to be a point where they have to go back to the offense that they were running last year with him. He's had 5 design rushes through 2 games so far. Last year he was averaging about 8 a game. So there's a massive amount of room to grow.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. Obviously, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse, Blandy. So there's definitely going to go up. I would look at there's some streaming QBs that will be better plug and plays for me. If I'm being quick to move on from your rookies, be quick to move on from somebody who's not performing in offense that's an absolute mess.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of room to grow for him. So I would, I'd probably be looking to buy low.
Do you think
could bench him? You could.
Do you think there's a chance he scores pretty well this week in terms of fantasy points? Because he's going to get a bit of garbage time, isn't he?
Yeah.
Run about a bit and...
That's it. He's always liable to break an 80-yard run and score a touchdown, and that's it. That's his fantasy day. The points are in the bag at fear at that point.
It's not what we play it for, though. It's not what we do. We look at the numbers for, the analysis for, to say we hope he might get a bit of garbage time or 180-yarder, and that'll make him average. That's not what we're in it for. We're looking for players with volume, quality, scoring points regularly. There's some other options, I think, at quarterback.
Yeah,
but I do take the points on board. He could peel off an 80-yarder.
Yeah. He's always got that upside where someone like Kirk Cousins. There's absolutely there's no chance he's going to run in an 8-yard touchdown, never mind an 80-yard.
But Kirk Cousins is throwing it 35 times a game with a reasonable degree of accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay, any more drops?
No, that's I'm all dropped out.
They're all dropped.
Only Barry's internet's the only thing that's going to drop now.
Drop the drops.
I might drop me guts. What do we want to talk about next, boys?
I got a couple of ads. We spoke about Kendra Miller already. Spoke about
hang on. Whoa. Hang on.
Whoa, wind it back in.
Let me do me magic here.
Don't try and put your ads in, Blandy, before he puts his title on the top of the screen. Come on.
Ads.
Now. Fire away. Fire at will.
Look at them graphics. I spare no expense for these graphics.
I'll tell you what, that budget is...
Pull up Kendra Miller, and when I last checked earlier today, it was still only 33% rostered, was Kendra. You don't have to put it in caps. You can turn your caps off. 36%. So, there's nowhere he should be, less than 70% rostered in redraft leagues. You pick him up, you stick him on your bench.
Hello, Callum. Thanks for tuning in. Lovely to see your face there. Look at that face.
Lovely smile.
Have to start Daniel Jones and Matt Prater in leagues tonight. How many points do I wake up to? Just don't wake up.
I mean, do you have to...
Just hope you don't wake up. Hope you just pass away in your sleep.
I mean, my question is, do you have to start them? Do you really have to start them?
Hopefully you're in the positive and not the negative when you do wake up. That's all I'll say. I actually think, from a game theory game theory side of it, I actually think Daniel Jones might have a big fantasy game tonight. Because like Breeder, Brightwell, Eric Gray, that like they're not like they're just replacement level runners.
Nasty.
Yeah. So I think we could end up seeing an absolute shitload of design runs for Daniel Jones. Yeah, like could possibly go over 100 yards rushing, But
are the 49ers going to be living in the Giants' backfield though?
Quite possibly, but that just leads to scrambles, doesn't it? You know, Jones is
athletic.
He's big and he's
athletic, but can he get down the middle of the pocket? Because I think that you think they're going to collapse the pocket from the sides. It's can he step through the middle? I would say is going to be the key to that.
But does that, or can he get around the edge? But yeah, I think from a game theory side of it, it wouldn't surprise me if they've gone into this knowing fine well they've known pretty much since Sunday that they're not going to have Saquon. So they can build the game plan around Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones rushing.
I think he'd be skipping to the bathroom in the morning with 25 points in the bag, wouldn't he? For the two of them.
He'd be absolutely delighted if he got 25 points, I think.
Question from Brad McCoy. Cheers, Brad.
Cheers, Brad.
10 man. I have T-Law, Gibbs, Jones, Jefferson, AJ Brown, TJ Godwin. I just got offered Cup for AJ Brown. Would you do it?
Well,
Barry, hang on, Barry, hang on. As Anth is the Cooper Cup owner, Anth, if someone came to you, Anth, if someone came to you and offered you AJ Brown for your Cooper Cup share, now would you take it?
I know AJ Brown hasn't been electric so far, so to speak. I think he was all right week 1, wasn't he? But he had a bad week last week. But I'm not really fading AJ Brown. He's an absolute beast.
Correct.
As a cup owner, I'm just worried. You start to worry. Is he going to come back on time? And then you start to worry. How long is he given to like warm back up into games again? And whereas if you've got AJ Brown, you've got someone who can just play now. I don't know, lads. You decide for us.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
I'd side with AJ Brown in that game.
I'd be tempted to take it.
The question I was going to ask is, it's what do we think about the fitness of Cup? Is he coming back on schedule? Because if he is, I think I'm leaning towards Cup, but I don't feel like he's going to be. He might have a lingering injury or an unknown length of injury, so therefore AJ Brown's going to make more sense. And they're going to, if he's a bit unhappy, they're going to scheme him more touches, aren't they? They're going to get the ball to him if he throws his teddy out the pram. He gets what he wants next week because he's the alpha.
The thing to add in with Cup now as well, which I'm thinking of, is because Puka is playing so well, they almost don't have to rush Cup back. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're almost going to, as a Cup owner, you probably don't want him to rush it back because then he's just going to get injured again, isn't he? But they're not going to.
I would say take a chance. I would say the flip side of that is, if they've looked quite good, the Rams, a lot better than I thought they would. So if they're still they've still got a decent record, and they're still in the playoff mix and everything else, that's more reason to bring him back rather than save him or anything like that. Blandy knows more as a Rams.
Yeah, I'd side with AJ Brown in that deal over Cup. The thing is, as well, the other thing is.
So if you were Brad, you'd keep AJ Brown.
Yeah. Because
he's got a good little team there. He's got a good little team there, Brad, hasn't he?
Yeah. Even when Cup comes back, Puka's not going away. You don't earn 35 targets as a rookie in 2 games if you've got nothing about you. Like he's not just going to disappear to the point where Cup is just going to be the only show in town again, like he has been when he's had Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, these other no marks, Ben Skoranek around him. Like Nakua is still going to command a decent.
He's going to be involved.
Yeah.
I think it's insane his numbers, isn't it, Puka Nakua? Anyone who was watching the games, last week, they putting the stats up during the game saying most targets and 2 better than like anyone who's ever played the game. It's just like, who's this guy?
Yeah,
but I think we did say last week Stafford is very, very good, isn't he? So if you're a receiver and you can get open, Stafford will give you the ball. He's put some good numbers on some wide receivers in his career, Stafford, hasn't he? Kenny Golladay and a few others.
He got Kenny Golladay a $27 million contract. So,
a question from Neil Martin again. Cheers, Neil. Which 2 wide receivers to start this week? Wilson, Zay Flowers, D Hop, Elijah Moore, and Dotson.
Stacked there, isn't he? Absolutely stacked.
Zay, Wilson, Hopkins, I think. For me.
Which 2? You're going for 2 there, or 3, Bland, did you say?
Sorry, it was 2. 2. All right, okay.
It's tricky. I'd say he's got a good stable there. I'd look to be squeezing another one into some of my flex spots. But personally, while you're thinking about it, I like Zay Flowers. I think he's blossoming. And I like D-Hop as well. So I'd look at those 2. Just fade Garrett Wilson, not because he's not an absolute great player, just because he's got Zach Wilson and he's going to the Patriots, and Belichick has a bit of the bunny over Zach Wilson, doesn't he?
Yeah. It would be Zay, and then probably Hopkins. He was I don't know if he didn't practice or he was limited today, but I think that's just a maintenance day for him.
So Neil, Zay Flowers, and D Hop. Next question from Jim. Cam Akers plus Dotson for Breece Hall. 14 team PPR, win or loss.
If you're getting Breece Hall, then you're winning. If you're getting Cam Akers, you're losing.
Yeah, you want to scratch Cam Akers' name off because it's not. You don't want anything to do with him. So would you do Dotson for Breece Hall? Probably not.
Keep Breece.
You
can get Breece for that.
You're not getting paid off Breece Hall at the moment, but you will get paid some point very soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
AJ's here. No, AJ, we'll do him now, son. Here we go.
We've got one from Joshua first. And then
cheers, Jim Tanner. Make sure you
Raheem Mostert, Zay Flowers, or Jordan Addison. Choose one.
Ooh, I've got an answer for this week.
Go on, Barry.
Mostert. Go for Mostert.
The Dolphins.
They play the Broncos. And we got shredded. We got shredded off Brian Robinson Jr. last week. So and Mostert put up a pretty good game. In his game, he's got no competition at backfield. Really, he's gonna feast. So get yourself into Mostert. That's not to say I don't like the other 2, but I like Mostert this week.
Yeah, I would. I'd concur.
Next question from Eric. Who would you start, Justin Fields or Russell Wilson this week?
Fields.
Russell Wilson.
Really? Why would you pick Russell? You're just not sold on Fields whatsoever?
Absolutely not, no. I'd be looking at 31 of the quarterbacks ahead of Fields. And Wilson has, for all the Broncos are not winning any games, he's putting some decent numbers up. They're moving the ball relatively well. The play calling's very questionable, but he's had a good finish last season, a good start for this season. From a fantasy numbers perspective, I'll give Russell a go.
So it's 50-50 there, Eric. I don't think we...
Broncos.
Any vote from yourself? It's almost like you need 3 people to make a casting vote, Ant.
Yeah, I'd play Justin Fields. Just like we mentioned earlier, I think you get a bit of garbage in terms of points. I think you get a bit of garbage time and get them points racked up.
Yeah, you'll get a whole game of garbage from him, but you'll get fantasy points.
I'd go Fields.
Do you get any points for? Do you get any points for garbage quarterbacks?
I'm not sure about the Broncos wide receivers either. Just like, you can't really play Judy this week.
Judy's fine. The rest you can't play.
I can't. I wouldn't even play Judy.
No, you can play Judy. You're fine.
I'm not going to. You can't make me.
No, you're right. I can't make you, but you can play Judy.
So Justin Fields, go for mate. Trust me. Stephen Wake, hi guys.
Go for Russ.
Good to see Blandy losing his bet again, wearing that hat. Why does Bronco Barry look like a ghost?
It's his mood lighting.
Eric, I was worried about being in Kansas City this week. Fields could suck bad.
He could well do, but the KC actually play quite a bit of man coverage, and if you've got a rushing quarterback, the best teams to play them against are teams with man coverage, because they turn the back. The defense turns the back on the quarterback. If Fields can get away, that's when you start getting your big rushing games.
They're a bit of a sneaky good defense, Kansas City, though, aren't they? You always think of Kansas City about Mahomes and the offense, but they're pretty good. They held the Jags in check pretty well last week.
Trevor Lawrence probably left 4 touchdowns on the field last week with just slightly misplaced passes in the end zone.
Right, we'll fit one more in from Eric, and then we'll go on to Joshua, and then we'll go to AJ's. One more from Eric. Also, who would you place in the flex spot? Algier, Kirk, Michael Thomas, Gabe Davis, or Zay Jones?
Just one of them. Some good names to pick from.
Who would you place in the flex spot? So I presume just one.
I mean, I think Zay Jones, we had a bit of a discussion off air, didn't we? Say he's not going to be fit this week, so I'm scratching it off.
Yeah,
so that means that Kirk will benefit. So there's a potential. I think Algier has been doing pretty well, even with Bijan there. The Falcons just want to absolutely pound the ball and run it into the ground, and they're both making hay out of a split. But I still like a bit of Gabe Davis this week as well. I think he's got some downfield, some big plays in him. I think they had a bit of a bounce back, didn't they, last week, the Bills, after sort of sucking against the Jets. And I think this week they've got this week the Commanders. A couple of those Josh Allen get back to those big deep throws to Gabe Davis. I've got a fancy for him to have a big game.
Yeah, I'd probably side with Kirk myself. I think in that situation,
some good choices to have though, there isn't there?
Yeah, especially if Zay Jones is out, I would side with Kirk.
Joshua, DJ Moore, Michael Thomas, or Rashad White? Start one.
Rashad White. I think. Yeah, Rashad White, I think.
I think I'd lean Michael Thomas.
I'm going to stick with Blandy on that one, Rashad White.
Yeah.
Who to start in flex and rank, please, between the following: Swift, Warren, Gus Edwards, and Kelly.
Oh, some good.
So who to start in the flex and possibly rank them?
So I'd rank them.
Blandy, give us a lowdown.
I'd go Kelly, Swift, Warren, Gus this week.
Is that are we saying Justice Hill is not going to play, or
Justice Hill won't play? They've signed Kenyon Drake to play instead of Justice Hill. Justice Hill. Yeah. Gus Edwards' role is going to be exactly the same as what it was last week, because just because Justice Hill's out, it's not going to change anything in Gus's role. He doesn't catch passes, so there's no good. His role's not going to change. So it's going to be Kenyon Drake who will come in and take the Justice Hill routes.
But they're at home to the Colts, so I'm guessing he's got an opportunity for plenty of goal line work there, Gus, as well, hasn't he?
Potentially, yeah. But although I know Gus scored the touchdown last week, but Justice Hill got 3 carries to Gus's 1 inside the 5-yard line. It was just Gus that happened to get in.
And you're fading Swifty just because of Gainwell coming back?
Gainwell will come back. He won't get the same amount of work as he got last week, obviously. But it would be close between Kelly and Swift. But I think Kelly's game is going to be a shootout in a dome. No weather concerns.
Yeah.
And he let people down last week, but there's no reason to go away from him this week.
Yeah. Like you said, that matchup last week was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Another one from AJ. Also, start Higby or Smythe at tight end this week, both rostered. If neither, what are the best tight end pickups off waivers? Barry, I think you might have a good answer for the potential tight end to pick up off from waivers.
What do you want me to say? Adam Troutman again, do you? Or?
No. I think you picked him up. Was it yesterday?
Zach Ertz, I managed to pick up, or Jake Ferguson. So I think when I went for Troutman last week, I did like the look of Jake Ferguson after watching the Cowboys. They seem to have a lot of scripted plays for him. So those first sort of 10 plays of the drive, he seems to get quite involved. They've got a mix of tight ends, the Cowboys, so that does detract a little bit. But I think Ferguson is one that'll have some good weeks in a decent offense and is a big red zone target. So I pick again Zach Ertz if he's not wavered. I know Blandy's not a fan, but he's getting his targets. But looking at the two that has been put up there, Higby is a bit of a don't know why he's rostered candidate, isn't he? I don't think he's somebody you want to be looking to rely on. Smythe, I think, is somebody who's, again, if Waddle doesn't play, they're going to have to spread some targets around amongst, River Craycraft and Braxton Barrios, whatever he's called. So I think Smythe might get a little bit more action this week. So I think if I've got a choice of them two for this week, it's definitely the Dolphins tight end. But I think there's always tight ends on the waiver wire, but just not Troutman.
Yeah, Durham Smythe has actually run the most routes of any Dolphins player, including Waddle and Tyreek Hill. He's pretty much out there every single player. If Waddle can't go, then he's probably in line for the second most targets on that team, actually. And then Jake Ferguson, he leads all tight ends in the NFL in targets inside the 5-yard line. He's been pretty unlucky to actually only score 1 touchdown so far. So he's a much better shout than Zach Ertz, Barry.
And whether that stat's padded a little by the amount of times the Cowboys have been there because they're getting good field position or they're a good high output, you're reaping the rewards anyway. So it doesn't, he's getting that opportunity, and I think they look for him a lot in because the other tight end scored as well. Didn't he? Did Schoonmaker? Did he get it? And Hendershot filters in a bit as well. So there's a slight bit of competition there, but I think Ferguson is the one.
There is, and it's this week they play the historically bad Arizona Cardinals when it comes to giving up points to tight ends. The Cardinals have always been bad. So
it's definitely Ferguson satchel, isn't it?
Yeah,
Philly satchel against the Cardinals.
Question from Alex. Cheers, Alex. Marquise Brown, or Jaylen Warren in my flex?
Jaylen Warren for me. Over Hollywood.
Is that because you expect him to have the lion's share of the backfield this week?
I expect him to continue to take more work away from Najee Harris. Yeah. I'm just trying to pull up.
It's trending that way, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. I can't find it, but there was a quote from Mike Tomlin who basically said, without actually saying it, that Jaylen Warren is the running back one there in Pittsburgh now going forward.
The downside with any Cardinals player is obviously they're pretty rubbish, but at least they're being a bit sort of spiky and putting some points up and trying, and Josh Dobbs is doing as well as he can do. However, this week they're going to be absolutely swarmed on by that Cowboys D-line, and how much time is he going to have to stand in the pocket and wait for Brown to get downfield? I'm going to say not a lot. So I don't think this is a nice spot for Cardinals, any players at any point.
Yeah.
No, you're spot
on. Question from Ethan. Cheers, Ethan. In a deep dynasty league, start 12. Do you prefer Breida or Burks in full PPR? This is just for this week, by the way, not a trade.
Any other options is my first. Thanks for the question, Ethan.
Burks for me.
I think you're right. I think Burks is. Did he have quite a good deep touchdown last week? I think he's a player. We think he should be involved more.
Yeah. He's still coming back from his knee injury that he suffered in the preseason. So every week that goes by, he's getting healthier. Yeah.
It's a rebuilding roster. I've got about 2 or 3 of them, mate. Don't worry.
you drafted a rebuilding roster, didn't you, about 3 weeks ago?
I get the number 1 pick every year. Still rebuilding.
Yes, because one year you used the number 1 pick on Najee Harris.
Yeah.
You could have had Jamar Chase. You chose Najee Harris.
Worked out well.
Cheers, Ethan. Make sure you hit the subscribe, won't you?
Question from Michael. Start 2. Pittman, Flowers, D-Hop. We're big Flowers fans, aren't we?
Yeah,
we are. He's blossoming.
Who are you going for, Ant?
I'd stick with what we said before: Flowers and Diop.
No, I'd go Flowers and Pittman. I think.
I was going to say Pittman's the first time we've had him in a question, but he's commanded some target share. I've always liked him, and I thought he'd do okay this year. But his numbers are great, aren't they?
Right. So we're saying Flowers is definitely one.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
What do you think, Baz?
I'm just looking for the Titans matchup this week. Have they got a tricky game?
Titans play the
Titans. Oh, the Browns. No, they're the Browns. But yeah, I think, like I say, I think Pittman's, even though they have got a tricky matchup at the Ravens, Minshew's going to start over Richardson. The way I'm hearing. And
Richardson. Sorry to jump in, Barry. Richardson will be out. He won't clear the concussion. He won't clear the concussion protocol.
So Minshew and Pittman seem to have a good rapport. When Richardson doesn't play, they're going to throw the ball a bit more. All of these things and they're probably going to be behind in the game at some point or at large points of it. All of these things are trending towards Pittman getting at least as many targets as he's had. But he had 12 last week. So I think, Pittman's a good start this week, good start to the season. And similar with Zay Flowers, I think I'm just a little bit down on D-Hop out of 3.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are bad starts, but I'd side with Pittman and Flowers.
Yeah, he's Michael just said he's starting Lamar as well, so go for the stack.
Stack them up. Stack them up.
I found that quote from Tomlin on Jaylen Warren after the other night. So it says, he's just making plays when given the opportunity, and I think that's a reasonable expectation for his playing time to increase. He's a guy that did similar things as a young guy last year and as a rookie, and he's done some really good things in the team development process. And so it's probably a natural maturation process for it to transpire on the pitch, and it's probably a natural maturation process for him to be given more opportunities for it to transpire on the pitch. So basically saying that we need to play more.
Yeah, that's a long-winded answer to say Warren's good, Najee's not so good.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Like I said, he said he's the RB1 without saying he's the RB1.
Yeah. Question from Parker. Cheers, Parker. Would you do this trade? I get Jacobs and Ford. I give up Mattison and Wilson.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. Yeah, take it now.
In a heartbeat.
We've said get rid of Mattison. We said, like I said last week, get rid of Wilson, not because he's not good, just because of the situation. So yeah, seems like a good deal to me.
Jacobs is the buy low candidate still.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was looking for Jacobs in our leagues, and
yeah,
he's sat with people that won't trade him. I don't think.
Yeah, well, I was looking to do a trade today for a running back, and the person who has him in our league asked me when he gets a trading. So,
what, you're the advisor?
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be an awkward
just
conversation.
Do what Steve Wake does and just say, yeah, accepted. Yeah.
Be an awkward conversation.
A question from as the FG Hop. Great name. Start 2, Hall, Gainwell, Ford.
That's a tricky little one, that, isn't it?
Hall and Ford for me.
Why do you say that? Because of the Swifty situation.
Yeah, I like Swift went for about 180 yards last week. Once Genie's out the bottom, you can't really put him back in, can you?
No.
So Gainwell's definitely going to have his role. I expect probably the 2-minute, 4-minute drill that they spoke about in pre-season of him having. And then Swift will get the majority of the playing time, and Gainwell will come in every now and again to give him a breather. But yeah, I think it'd be pretty foolish. Pretty foolish for the Eagles to just give Gainwell his full-time role back like he had in week 1 after what Swift did last week. That it just wouldn't really make sense.
You can't flip him back. You should never assume logical coaching decisions, but it would seem illogical to flip it back. I feel it's gonna end up in towards a 50-50, 60-40, probably in Swift's favour. I don't know if I think Ford's going to put up good numbers against the Titans defense. I don't know how many times we've said tonight that the Titans D don't give much away against the run. I'm not sure what Ford's going to do against them. That would be my concern.
Yeah. But it's I would still start Ford over Gainwell. No qualms about that one.
Question from Stephen Wake. Cheers, Stephen. Chase for Waddle and Etienne. Let the podcast decide. The lad I'm trading with is an absolute no threat in our league. I think Etienne's going to go off this week.
Yeah, I think he is going to go off this week. I think he's going to do well for the rest of the season.
How would Stephen Wake feel about this trade when Jake Browning is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals for the next 4 weeks?
I was going to say there's some big sort of rumours, question marks over Burrow's fitness and ability to play, isn't there?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Burrow is put on IR before the weekend.
Really?
And is this ongoing from his pre-season injury, or is this a new injury?
No, he on his second touchdown throw at the weekend.
Calf? Is it calf injury?
Yeah, the calf. Yeah, on the second touchdown throw at Higgins at the weekend, he re-aggravated it, came off the pitch limping. And he was back at training today. He's got a full compression sleeve on his leg. He didn't actually practice. And there's clips of him there on Twitter as he's walking from the changing rooms to the practice field, which is about a 3-day camel ride away. Like you can physically see he's not walking properly. He's walking with a limp. Like
And this backup quarterback's no good, is he? He's worse. He's worse than no good, isn't he?
He was horrendous in the preseason.
Yeah, they'll be trying to chase down Colt McCoy or someone, won't
they? Well, they'll have to. I mean, Colt McCoy does. He does his podcast now, doesn't he? On Underdog Fantasy.
Yeah. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can do a podcast.
Yeah,
Not any good, is
it? Does it a bit better than us, though. Very good. You should watch it.
Oh, I'd expect so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like we might have saved Steve there.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. That's what he tunes in for, to get this cutting information, isn't it? You see.
Yeah.
Make sure you subscribe, Stephen, and you're doing well to listen to this podcast. We'll keep you right.
Isn't he the Panthers QB coach now?
No, it used to be. He was the guy on who did the Scheme podcast and Underdog Fantasy, Josh McCowan. He used to do that, and then obviously he went and got the job with the Panthers. So now Josh Norris has replaced him with an actual guy who was going to be a QB in the NFL this year, and took him off that and took him off the Cardinals roster and says, "No, you're going to come and do this this podcast with me." So that's what he's doing now.
Question
it's probably one of the reasons why the Cardinals decided to move on for him, when he decided he was going to do the fantasy podcast during the week of the NFL season.
Rather than doing his watching his tape and learning his calls, I'll get on the mic.
Exactly.
Wrong crap. Browns QB.
There's been a few crap Browns QBs, so we'll let you off that one.
Question from Chris: trade Chase away for Kyron Williams and Garrett Wilson.
No, because
you're betting on Burrow's fitness, aren't you? So if Burrow plays, you want to chase out of it.
The thing is, at some point, even if Burrow does go on IR, misses a few games, he's going to come back this year. There's no chance Aaron Rodgers is coming back this year to save Garrett Wilson's fantasy season. So yeah, that's a tough one. In the immediate term, with the concerns about Burrow not playing, that might be a net win. But I think over the course of a whole season, probably a loss.
That's quite an interesting point he's put in the chat there as well. And if you just pull that, he's saying he's got Higgins as well, so he's quite all in on Burrow there. Maybe it's a bit of an opportunity to sort of diversify and go for Garrett Wilson, who we don't particularly like. Hedge your bets.
Hedge, we call it in the trade, Barry. Hedge.
I've slipped in diversify there. Do I get an applause for that or not?
There you go, mate. There you go.
I've got happy now.
Yeah, if you were trading away Chase, I'd maybe look at someone other than Garrett Wilson then. Just because there's no one coming to save his season, is there?
You're probably going to get, if you can get, again, it's who you're playing against, what have they got, what their opinions. If they're not as clued up as following the Joe Burrow injury news, Chase's value might be higher to some people than we are saying his realistic value is. So, again, let's tout him about Chase and see what you can get.
See if you can get an upgrade on Garrett Wilson.
Exactly.
Before he gets an IR.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think Garrett Wilson's pretty much capped as a wide receiver 3 now, with maybe wide receiver 2 upside from game to game.
If you could be underhand, let's do
it. Question from Reggie Cook: start Kincaid or Kmet for week 3, full PPR?
Kincaid.
Cheers, Reggie. I think we've bigged up Kincaid and downgraded Kmet, so I think we're pretty good on that one.
Dawson Knox was not participating in practice last 2 days with a back injury. So
really,
that will be it'd be interesting to see how they would change Kincaid's role if it did in fact change at all with Knox out, because Knox basically plays as the traditional tight end, and Kincaid is almost in the same role as what Kyle Pitts is in for the Falcons, albeit the Bills like Kincaid, so want to use him as opposed to the Falcons, who don't like Kyle Pitts and don't want to use him.
I don't want to throw the ball. It's interesting, that Bills backfield, isn't it, about that sort of split between Dawson Knox, who've got a decent contract, and Kincaid, who obviously drafted very high and want to develop. And I think it feels like a bit of a split tight end role in a pass heavy offense, which is not a bad thing. What are those? What's that backfield looking like? How many times are they both on the field?
They both played over 70% of the snaps. I think it was 79% of the snaps, actually. The two of them actually played. And on first downs this year, the Bills lead the league in 12 personnel formation, where you've got two tight ends on the field. So they've shown, they've given Kincaid a clear role. They're calling it like 11.5 personnel, basically, where
11.5. I like it.
Yeah, he's either on the field as a full-time tight end, or he's on the field as a full-time slot receiver. But yeah, he's pretty much on the field full-time, as full-time as you can be. Like,
right,
let's
try
8% of snaps.
Let's try and get Chris over the line here. So Chris is saying, how about Williams plus Devontae Adams? Which I presume the lad's got in his team.
Mm-hmm.
He also has Atwell or Debo.
Yeah, Atwell be a no. He gets squeezed when Cup comes back, so that will be a no. I mean, you can offer the Kyron Devontae, and like you say, probably wouldn't go for it. Debo, I'd say Debo has probably got a lesser flaw than, say, Garrett Wilson. Would he? No, maybe he doesn't now, actually. But he's got a higher ceiling, In that 49ers team, Debo could easily give you a couple of 30-point weeks, where I don't think Garrett Wilson has got that in his range of outcomes anymore.
Not very often. I think if you can get Chase for Devontae Adams, I think that's a good win. But if you can get Chase for Debo as well, I think I'd move on from Chase for either of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Up to Penny. Between the three, what would you trust? What two would you trust more between Pittman, Mike Evans, and Higgins?
Is that this week, or is that rest of season?
I think if we're talking this week, I still think we're back to the question mark over Burrow's fitness, but I think we're saying even if it is this week, Pittman and Evans look like they're leading a little bit. Higgins had that poor first week, didn't he? Came back a little bit this second week, but Pittman, we've seen, has been earning some great target numbers, and Mike Evans seems to be outperforming Godwin quite well. So those two are sort of jumping off the page as the first 2 weeks being the trending upwards, where Higgins has a lot of question marks.
Yeah. Just this week. Sorry, that's you. I would side Pittman and Evans this week with the concerns about Burrow. Rest of the season, it will be Pittman and Higgins I will trust more over Mike Evans. Okay, so he said this week.
Yeah, it's just a different question. So
that's a different question. That's a different question, a different person. I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
We're doing good, thank you, mate. Thanks for asking the question. How would you rank these guys? Debo, Ramondre, Jay Gibbs.
And
it's
some
for
this some names we haven't talked about too much there.
It's for this week. I know. One man in the podcast fancies a bit of Jay Gibbs this week. Don't you, Mr. Bland?
Don't mind him.
You don't mind?
Don't mind him.
I think we've been saying for the first 2 weeks, haven't we? He's looked like a player. It's just that game time increase, turning the dial up a little bit, get him on a pitch. He's going to be explosive. We've got Montgomery out. They're still like a big-bodied back, and they're not going to just lean on totally Gibbs. But I think he's going to get a lot of that dial's going to be turned up a bit. He's going to get his touches, and if he's getting touches that are little sort of screens or little passes out the backfield or whatever it is, I think he's going to turn them into some good numbers. So I think Gibbs has got a good potential week this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't fancy that Pats Jets game at all either. I don't think I want anything to do with it.
No, it's going to be tough. It's tough sledding for Ramondre, I think. So I would side with Gibson, Debo myself.
Yeah, which one would you pick first, or Debo or Gibbs? The only thing with Debo, right? So
I'd go Debo because Ayuk's out. We know Ayuk's out, so I'll go with Debo.
Yeah. Debo tonight. Yeah.
How about if the Niners get so far ahead? Is Debo a candidate for getting hooked up?
Yeah, but it's now. Normally you've got the four. Normally you have the four with CMC, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. Yeah. You're now down. Now only down to three. Nobody else is sticking up points for them. So and also it's more concentrated. So if they are putting plenty of points on the board, there's a chance that Debo's going to be involved with that. So I would go Debo.
Yeah, you've also got Debo, Gibbs, Ramondre. Sorry, Baz, go on.
If they're going to get so far ahead that they're pulling starters, Debo's going to have his share of that, isn't he? So he's potentially going to have. He might not play 4 quarters, but if they get 30, 40 points on the board in 3 quarters, he's going to have his share.
Okay, no problem, mate. Please sub if you haven't already. Which one we're on next? 2 seconds. Question from Harlan: Ridley or AJB?
Pass.
You're a Ridley, aren't you?
I like Ridley. I went early on Ridley this season. Had him quite highly ranked, and I think he hasn't looked like he's had a year off. He's looked like he's come back with a point to prove. So I'm a big Ridley guy. Not to say that AJ Brown's not a very, very good player either, but I think I'd just have a little bit of a lean towards Ridley.
Blandy?
AJ Brown for me.
I'm not going to decide.
You can't sit on the fence.
I can't
get them splinters out your ass.
I'm trying to keep up with this chat. So what we're going to do? Toss a coin on that one. Is it really that close?
It probably actually that's probably a good way to put it. It probably is.
I was going to say it's not a bad choice to have. They're in the same range, two very good players will put some good numbers up. So yeah.
I wouldn't let the pride of weights concern me about AJ and all that.
No, I would. Like I said, I think if he's gonna kick up a fuss, they're gonna pander to him because he's the main man, isn't he? So that's probably more in his favour that he's had a bad week. That he'll get it back next week.
Yeah.
You get some squeaky wheel treatment.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is the first time I've had one of these ones. Val's the goal. 49ers kicker Harrison Butker.
More kickers questions, please. Who's the kickers expert? The three of us.
Oh, fucking hell. Is the 49ers sticking with that lad they drafted, are they?
Yes, well, you've got to go with the draft capital.
The 49ers kickers. He's the guy that went very early on. He had a bit of a shocker in pre-season. I missed a few, but he's been pretty good in the real deal, hasn't he? Yeah. And Harrison Butker was wind the clock back 2 years ago, Mr. Automatic, and had a bit of a wobble last year. I thought he had a little bit of a kicker injury, which kickers are real people. They do get injured as well, and that affected his performance. But I think I'd probably go 49ers kicker.
Yeah, I'd go Moody.
We'll go the Niners kicker. Yeah. Heard it here first.
Keep them questions coming fast, eh?
Question from Harlan. Would you trade AJ for T and James Conner if I've lost Chubb? which obviously you did. So would you trade AJ for T, Higgins, and James Conner?
I wouldn't be looking to get rid of AJ just because you might be in need of a running back, but you don't want to be giving up your wide receivers, do you?
No, I would agree with you there, Barry.
I think you want to be looking a little bit lower down the chain for some usable running backs who make it some average numbers rather than
If I'm giving up AJ Brown, I'm wanting to do it for a wide receiver 1, not a wide receiver 2, 3 on a shit offense.
Next question from Super. Just got offered T Higgins and Ken Walker for CD. Full PPR. What you all think? So just got offered T Higgins and Ken Walker for CD.
For me, there's a player I really like out there. 3 of them.
That's CD Lamb.
CD Lamb, he's absolutely flying, isn't he?
Yeah.
He also offered Debo instead of Higgins.
Now, Debo and Ken Walker for CD might tempt me. They're 2 for 1, depending on what my needs are at running back. But I think CD, he's got a chance of being in that top 2 or 3 wide receivers for the season.
Yeah, I think I'd still side with the CD side. If I had no pressing needs on my roster, other than just having a bit of depth, I think I'd prefer to keep the best player in the deal.
Yeah.
People still play with kickers. Ethan, in our league, one of our leagues we actually do.
We love a kicker. Kickers are
for casual players.
Kickers are real people. Kickers need love.
What I like about playing with kickers is, like, on a Sunday, and it's you're going into the witching hour, and you've got a kicker that has to make the field goal to tie the game or something like that. Oh, fuck, I love it. I was
just going to say that sort of that jeopardy of I'm winning by a couple of points, but someone's got a 60-yard field goal, and if they make it, it's going to screw me over. That's the pinnacle of fantasy for me. Pure luck.
Slightly off topic for Val's the GOAT, but any question that comes on that line, on that stream, I put it up, Haaland or
All
Messi?
questions answered.
Haaland or Messi? Got to be Messi, isn't it?
Is that for this weekend or rest of the season?
Right, I think I'm up to date with all the questions.
Good.
So we were talking about pickups. Kendre Miller was one.
Yeah, we spoke about Kendre because I said he should be about 70% rostered at least, not 36%. So Jalen Reed was another one that we spoke about previously.
Yeah.
He was still very, very lightly rostered. He's 30% there. Like I say, it would be the greatest shock to me if at the end of the season he's leading the Packers in targets. Very good player. What he's done so far this year. Tank Dell was another one. Noah Brown went on IR after week 1. Tank Dell came in and then immediately led the Texans in routes run and also in targets in his first game. Despite being smaller than me at 106. Lighter than me, 165 pounds, and he's tiny anyway, 5'10". He actually wins on the.
What's called tank?
He actually wins on the outside. He's not. You would think someone that small is just a slot receiver. He's not. He actually wins on the outside. So when the Texans go to 2 wide receiver sets, it's going to be him and Nico on the outside. He was actually taking snaps off Nico last week, but I don't think that carries over because Nico's very good.
Yeah, Nico's kind of got all the attention, didn't he? And
when he sees first 2 games, he's only played 70% snaps. Tank Dell comes in last week; he's almost 80% snaps. Play more. Tank Dell's definitely someone who should be rostered a lot more than what he is.
Quite impressed with CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think he's as advertised.
Looks like he can read
ridiculously
the play and
good
make a pass.
Yeah, ridiculously good passer of the ball. Very, very, very accurate.
A quickie floorboard there.
I was going to say, someone just trumped on this pod. Look, Donald Trump there.
Question from Ethan. Thanks for the question, Ethan. Someone cut Xavier Hutchinson in my Dynasty League. Is it worth using my waiver priority to pick him up?
Dynasty, maybe. I don't think he's getting any sort of action at the moment, but if you've got a deep bench and it's a Dynasty, there must be better options to use your priority on, but he's a bit of a deep stash.
Yeah. I wouldn't use, if I've got, a high priority in waivers, it's not someone I would be using a stash on. But if you've got a low one, or you can let him run through to free, I don't know if your Dynasty League does free agency at any point. He's someone to keep an eye on, because it is, behind what's now the front three. And Robert Woods is knocking on, can quite easily go away as the season progresses. Then definitely someone to keep an eye on, because it's nice to see John Mechie get back on the field last year, but what he's had to overcome so far in his career, I'd be surprised if he can carve himself out a big role going forward.
So someone like Tank Dell or Kendra Miller or some of these players we've mentioned who are not drafted should be more of a priority than Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah, but in Dynasty Leagues, they're obviously all going to be rostered.
Yeah, they'll be gone. Yeah.
Any more to add?
No, the other one was Jake Ferguson that I had. He was only about 30% rostered.
If you're in that tight end streaming sort of game, he's a good guy to pick up, isn't he?
Yeah, 32% rostered there. His playing time does need to increase, you see there, but when he is on when they do put him on the field, they do target him at a pretty high rate, and like I said, he does lead the all tight ends in targets inside the 5-yard line so far this year. So it's definitely upside with him, and his role has got room to grow as well with his playing time.
Yeah, I think they like him, and I think they want to use him, don't they? I say that those first 10 or 12 plays, he seems to get some scripted plays, which is a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, and Dak has always targeted his tight ends. So.
Yeah, and again, they look like a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Okay. Any you fancy picking up, Baz?
I think we probably covered most of the guys. There's no deep sleepers. I know, again, in that deep, I've had a look in my sort of tight end box for some deep sleepers because in a lot of leagues.
You've put Adam Troutman back to sleep, have you?
Yeah, I think he didn't wake up last week. There's a lot of leagues where I've played the game of not going for one of your elite tight ends, pick up higher receivers and running backs, and streaming people. So Conklin had a good game last week for the Jets, or some encouraging numbers. So he's one I'm just I'm not all in on, but I'm keeping a bit of an eye on.
Have you either of you had any cheeky bets? Or are you going to have any cheeky bets?
No. Not so.
It's a bit of an uninspiring slate of games this week, isn't it? There's no sort of big playoff games. I think that Vikings Chargers will be a good game to watch, given they'll be going up and down the field. But I think there's a lot of injuries. There's not greatest games to pick from. Just watch and enjoy a week, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's no more questions coming in, and then we're hour and 45 minutes in. It's 11:15
Good session.
Here.
It's about 2 hours past my bedtime.
Yeah, you're not staying up for the match tonight?
I was going to say he's not staying up for it. This is unusual for Blandy, not staying up for the Thursday night game.
No, I can't. The Rams are going to beat the Bengals minus Joe Burrow on Monday night. So I need to stay up to watch that one, and I'm getting old, and I can't do 3 late nights in 5 days. So.
Would you back them now, Blandy, before try and get your money down before if any Burrow news breaks? Is that a good tactic?
So it was. I think the line was about 8.5 on Sunday, and then Sunday night after the news broke about Burrow's calf, it dropped to I think it was 2.5, and it's settled at 3 now. So I think the Rams getting a field goal. If Burrow doesn't play, then that line's going to flip massively. And to be honest, given how the Bengals played anyway, the Rams, even with Burrow playing +3, is probably not a bad bet anyway. To be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I think we've got a great chance to beat them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So definitely not clicking.
Right, let's get ourselves to bed, lads.
Sign us off.
I'm going to say, Macho Man Randy Savage is going to sign us off.
Thank you all for joining us this week. We'll see you again next week for more questions and answers on your lineups.
Bad advice.
Trades. And bad advice, yeah.
Bad advice.
Peace out.
Good night, Chief.
Good night, Ethan.